Hi everyone. It feels like it's been a while. Sorry about that. Not only am I just a really slow painter, I had a lot of things to tend to in my personal life, which kind of delayed things for a bit. Hell, I was even in the path of Hurricane Laura, which was described as unsurvivable. Yeah, given that I'm here uploading a video, I guess I died somewhere along the way, which is a pretty big road bump for painting. Maybe I'm just dead on paper.
Hey, Rico! Wake up! Fish boy! Hey, look! You're dead!
Kills in action!
Before we get to how all the boys are doing, I figured I'd quickly go over how I painted the quartered color scheme. Funny enough, I had someone point out that the black and white scheme matched the flag of Cornwall, one of the 6 nations that are officially recognized as the Celtic nations today. It totally wasn't on purpose, I just really wanted black and white quarter. But to all of my hypothetical Cornish viewers, I send a big ol' howdy from the US. To start off, I primed everything with a white primer. Then I covered everything with a can of Citadel's new Gray Sear contrast spray. Not only do these not only do these spray cans set you up with a light base coat for your contrast paints, they also have a glossy finish, meaning your paints will flow better into the recesses. However, the price is just absolutely fucking bonkers, man. I got this can from my game store for like 20 fucking bucks. Yeah, all that nonsense about supporting your local game store, I know, but goddamn, man, you could get 2 cans of white spray primer and 2 cans of gloss varnish for the same damn price. Like, this was nice to experiment with, but I doubt I'll be buying these spray cans ever again. But anyways, we'll start with the first color, which was white. I don't want my Marines to appear too gray with this contrast base coat, so I used contrast apothecary white mixed with contrast medium in a 1-to-1 ratio. I applied it to where I wanted the white to be, which was the left leg, the right torso half, and the right arm. Now, to help me do the quartering after that, I used a fine tip pen. This one in particular is a Gundam marker. Your local game store will probably have one of these if they sell Gundam models, or also called Gunpla. If you can't get one of these, go up to your art supply store and just get any kind of fine tip pen. Or hell, if you're going to be using lighter colors, just use a pencil. It'll be fine as long as you don't get your grubby little hands all over it. Using your implement of choice, you divide the Marine down the half vertically. For me, the belt will then further separate it horizontally into 4 areas when it's painted. And take note that I don't just draw a straight line down the middle of the Marine. Make out each individual piece of armor as you go down and draw a line down the middle of that. This will change depending on how your model is posed, but it'll look much more natural than a straight line because the armor pieces are moving as they're moving. Here I'm using a black marker mainly because my secondary darker color is, well, black. But if you're using another particularly lighter color, I recommend just using that pencil like I mentioned. The lighter gray of the pencil will help cover it up later with actual paint. In theory, you could also just use masking tape to ensure you get like a really crisp line, or just freehand it, but I mean, why make things harder for myself right now? A black pen is going to work fine for me right now. Speaking of dark secondary colors, I'll be applying that black now. No real secret here, just being sure to be really careful when getting near the division line. This early on in the paint scheme, it won't be the end of the world if I mess up, but an accident avoided is faster than a quick cleanup job, you know? Here I base coated just the armor, but later down the line, after a couple Marines, I base coated everything that'd be metallic as well, to help it go on smoother. Now the secret to making these highlights fast as dick. A lazy ass white dry brush over everything. Take note that in my footage here, I only dry brushed the dark side of the model, but in hindsight, I should have dry brushed the whole damn thing. My white base coat looks great in the recesses, you know, that apothecary white looking just fine, but overall, by not dry brushing it, it kind of looked a little flat across the board. Not a problem on the characters because I did proper edge highlighting, but no problem. Lesson learned. We'll keep on it. Because I'm going to be using Nuln oil in the next step, I take a quick second to base my silvers as well. That'll just let me knock out the black and all the silver in one step. Speaking of Nuln oil, I'm using it to bring the white dry brush on my dark color back towards the original black and to tint the white on top to a gray. The point of this was to shade and tint the white to look like a proper highlight instead of edge highlighting everything. I also make sure to watch out for any kind of pooling as well. I just wick it away with my brush. Here I lay down my pauldron trim color, which is going to be gold. This also carries over to the chapter badge and the belts. And then I shade them with Reichland Flesh Shade to give it a warm tone. In the original schematics for the army, I didn't plan on the gold belt, but I really like how it framed the torso in general, so I went with it and ended up really liking it. It's nice to go into a paint job with a plan, but don't be afraid to change something about your paint scheme on the fly. Here I used Vallejo blue-green and drew a line for the eye lenses. This is after I used a little Nuln oil beforehand to make a nice dark spot for that blue-green to really pop. Now, in general, I really fucking hate painting all the various belts and bags and straps on models, so I just use this contrast dark brown wildwood to get all the pouches. Fast, easy, good enough, fuck it, I don't even care. I ain't gonna sit here and stress about fucking bags and... I mean, I got other things to worry about, so, you know, good enough. Here I take care of the various purity seals and crow skulls and other kind of bones laying around with wraith bone. I forgot to film it afterwards, but I just used slightly diluted Agrax Earthshade afterwards to shade it. And finally I used various colors to paint the corresponding squad marking on the right pauldron. For my troops, this ended up being Vallejo flat green, but as discussed in the previous video, other types of troops will get either red or blue, purple, or white. Regardless of the unit I was actually painting it, I wanted it to be smooth because, you know, the pauldrons are a big surface and your eyes are kind of drawn to them first, so I made sure to do those really smooth with really thin coats. I mean, this green, I did it like 4 coats, but yeah, I just wanted to look nice. And that's it for the general paint scheme. Everything else afterwards was model exclusive, like reliquaries or, you know, piping for weapons and other little trinkets and shit. I hadn't gotten to do the shield badges or on anything on anyone yet, as I'm a bit stumped as to how I want to go about it, but it'll get done eventually. I'm not worried about it right now. Now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at some of the boys. Now, a little bit of a note going into this. Some of these colors are going to look a little flat, but my shitty camera just destroys, like, all of the quality that you see on these models. I also had to film this in the day before I went to work, which is normal for me because I do most of my stuff late at night, and I'm right next to a window, and it was really throwing off my camera work, but it came out alright. You can see what needs to be seen. Maybe one day I'll get a better setup, but I make do with what I have. Going in the same order as last time, we'll start with the Assault Intercessors, and I think they came out great. I particularly like this Sergeant and the Mark 7 Marine. I think they really came out nice. I made sure to give that Mark 7 Marine some camera love earlier for sure, because I really like his pose. It's very dynamic. The Mark 7 grumpiness makes him look a little... I don't know. I like this boy. I won't spend too much time on each of these units. I'll probably let the camera go around maybe once, and then we'll just get on with it. Otherwise, we're going to be here forever. And I'm not really interested in wasting your guys' time, so... Next are the aggressors, and my god, all of my aggressors look awesome. I don't care what the fuck you say. I really like all the red, all over them. It just looks really slick with the black and white. If you recall, I attached a brassiere to the top of the Flamestorm Aggressor Sergeant, but as you can see, I kind of threw that shit into the Shadow Realm. I'm kind of glad I did. It looks kind of stupid in retrospect. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. The heavy-duty melty boys, the Eradicators. I really can't say much here either. The blue is very sharp, although you really can't see it on this damn camera. The helmet is shaded, I swear. But the blue looks really good, and it really helps them stand out in this crowd of black and white. Once again, if you're interested in the conversion I did on the Eradicators to give them slightly different melta rifles, feel free to check out my tutorial video on it. The Blade Guard veterans here came out beautifully as well. The purple and gold go great on almost everything, especially the black and white of these boys. And man, I also really enjoy how the storm shields came out. I didn't plan for them to originally be divided or quartered in the same way as the armor. It was kind of an on-the-spot decision, but damn, I gotta say, Past John really knew what the fuck he was going for there. That's the gem in the middle of the shield is a little flat at the moment. I'll probably go back over them in the future and give them like a nice, like a better looking gem effect before I hit it with some gloss varnish. I gotta gush about the sergeant again. Something about that beautiful beaky bastard is just making me smile. The Emperor's fucking champion. Now, I gotta say, I was intimidated by the idea of painting a tartan freehand on the lower robes, but dude, look at this. I think I pulled it off, and pretty well to boot. For this, I followed the tartan tutorial from Cujo Painting. I don't care what anyone says. The fact that I pulled off a good tartan on this model makes it an 11 out of 10 for me. This is, hands down, probably one of my favorite models I've ever made. Speaking of tartan, look at this chunky bastard. The cape folds made this a bit more of a challenge, but nothing a little bit of patience and a careful eye couldn't handle. It kind of pains me that most of the color on this model is on the backside though. I tried to find a way to bring the colors forward, but I couldn't think of a way that looked good. Originally, I tried something with the sword sheath, as I couldn't decide on a color scheme around the time I was having this color scheme issue. I considered red or green or another tartan, but not only was the purity seal wrapping around it a bit of a problem, I decided to go for white for a few reasons. One is that the white pauldron is what I chose for command units initially, and having a white sheath helps display it since his command pauldron is kind of covered by that fur. Secondly, my power sword handles are black, so by having a white sheath and a black handle, it sort of takes the quartering scheme and pulls it up vertically, you know? I think I'll try working more color onto his shield badge in some way. A fun fact, this tartan was a sloppy copy of what you would call, quote-unquote, the stereotypical tartan. The colors I ended up using for it were green, red, blue, a really neutral purple, and white. Does that sound familiar? When I realized it, I thought it was a really cool coincidence. I didn't even mean to do it. It's just the colors I ended up picking for it, and it ended up matching way better than I could have ever expected. As you can see here, there's been no progress on my chaplain dread. The infantry has been occupying my focus for quite some time, but I did casually pick out the other two dreadnoughts that'll be in the list. These two dreadnoughts were purchased secondhand from my friend Nathan after he left the hobby. I think I've mentioned him in the past, so I thought it'd be cool to integrate friend's models into the core of my army. He played Size of the Emperor, so his painted dreadnought is a bright yellow. The paint is thicker than all hell though, but hey, we can fix that. There's also a bit of various other problems with this dreadnought, but I'll open that can of worms when we get there. In addition to these dreads, I'll have to work on a 5-man squad of Space Marine scouts, which will have camo cloaks and snipers, but I plan on doing like a flocking ghillie suit for them, so I won't have to be super particular about the paint job on that. I think it'll be really fast. In addition, there's another character that I'm really eager to work on that I'm adding. an Eversor assassin, with some accompanying lore for him that's going to be very interesting, and I'm really excited to work on him. But for now, that is going to wrap up what I have to show you guys for now. Next update on the Tuatha de Danann are going to be focused on the Dreadnoughts, the Scouts, and the Eversor. I'll try not to wait as long for this update. More importantly, I've been thinking about what I want to do after the Tuatha de Danann are finished. Somewhere along the line, I'll make a video about it, and we'll chat about where to go from there. I'm not sure if I want to move on to Necrons, or a different 40k army, or if I want to dip my toes into fantasy, or 2 other bigger projects I've got in mind that you guys will probably be pretty excited to see. Regardless of what we do, I'm sure it's going to end up great, and I'm very thankful that everybody is sticking around to see where I end up with this shit. I'm really running out of things to say. I didn't write this part of my script. Hell, I mean, going off of a script is really weird for me in general, but alright, I'm just gonna stop there. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourself.